There we go. We're recording. Hey, welcome everybody. Today we are the White Veil channel is glad to invite Hail Conjurer to the channel for a talk. We've been talking since London, I think, to do this, and finally there were a few in line, and it finally happened. So we're here tonight. Hi, Harry. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, uh, Harri Kuokkanen here. Uh, so Hail Conjurer is the name I do black metal stuff and yeah, black metal is Hail Conjurer is me doing black metal. So yeah, I don't know what extent you want me to introduce myself, but yeah, it's
the The main focus will be Hail Conjurer because
yeah.
that's the gig I saw. That's the records we will talk about. But like I said in the intro, it's kind of impossible to talk about Hail Conjurer and not talk about all the other stuff. So before we begin, I want to start with the quote you have on Bandcamp, or the line you use. Here the gods die, here the spirits of earth sprout. No incantation to open the gate, only the flesh, the embodiment of will. Is that like the overarching sentence for Hail Conjurer, or for everything in general?
Yeah, yeah, the text kind of emphasizes one of some of the basic themes I've been dealing with Hail Conjurer since the beginning. The text itself was written for the intro track Lichtung
Okay.
on Dreams of Serpent. It's an instrumental one,
Hmm.
but because of the German term Lichtung, which is a term that I borrowed from Martin Heidegger's uh, work. I wanted to. I wrote it in Finnish, but I had a friend to translate the text in German
Yeah.
because the original term was German, and the translations in Finnish or English wouldn't have worked in all the meanings
Yeah.
it has. So I wanted it to be German to sort of be more authentic in
Yeah.
that sense.
It
But
sounded
yeah,
better.
it's
It
yeah,
sounded better in
it's,
English.
it's yeah, it's it's a text that I've been working on like several like many times ever since. Like I've been returning to the text, some parts of it, or continuing where the text kind of left me in several occasions. For example, on a Carnal Lights, the third album's opening track, Triumphant. There's I don't know if you noticed. There's
Yeah.
Finnish spoken words beneath
Thrown in. Yeah.
the lyrics. So yeah, that's mostly the
Ah, okay.
same text in Finnish.
Yeah, okay.
So and the song Return, it's kind of a return to that the whole thing and the whole like setup.
Okay, so
So
it's a
yeah,
team that is
yeah,
it's a team that is interwoven throughout records and throughout the history of El Conjurer, I guess.
yeah. It's kind of a in a way not a starting point like an actual starting point because Hail Conjurer was already something, and I had released two demos
Yeah.
before that. But I think, um, but still is some kind of a starting point
Yeah.
because then it's more like solidified the the Hail Contra what it was about because the first two demos were a little like all over the place,
Yeah.
also thematically. So it's that for in that sense it started more coherent stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Before we delve too far into Hail Conjurer, I wanted to. Normally, I don't do this. How did you get into music? And we're going to skip a bit, but I feel like for the story of Hail Conjurer and the way you play music and the way it sounds, it's kind of important to delve a bit back. I think you started way before you were into black metal. Can you give us a little or a short intro into not who Hail Conjurer is, but how you became Hail Conjurer, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. The origins of the name Hail Conjurer, it takes uh, back to 2013 when I joined Right for Revenge.
Yeah.
So the Hail Conjurer was kind of it was like a not an initiation name, but it's sort of like the name, like getting into doing black metal. So that's sort of yeah, it's it kind of yeah makes like the true origin of my black metal path as a like an artist. But yeah, before that, if we're talking about music in general,
Yeah.
it's I wasn't like even I didn't have a like a metal teenage years even. I used to grow up with like psychedelic rock and like 60s and 70s progressive and psychedelic hippie stuff. And I my first bands were like that, like really like psychedelic,
Yeah.
in a way progressive, but still many ways pretty regressive on my behalf.
Yeah.
We had like a really talented musicians in a band, but I never was one of those more like taking my influences from like more primitive ways of playing, you know, like the earliest pre-album Pink Floyd stuff, like Sid Barrett's playing stuff, like Velvet Underground's, like really hard strumming of guitar. But yeah, it was I was more interested in the psychedelic stuff, and it was. I was when I was like a little kid. My dad had I listened a lot this kind of a classic heavy rock, hard rock stuff. So I was familiar with the classic ones, but it wasn't until like a phase after like finding hardcore punk that I actually got into like metal, like more extreme, like metal, not just like the classic heavy metal stuff, but more like death metal and thrash metal and all that stuff. But yeah, I think I was like 17 or something like that when I was introduced like properly to hardcore punk even.
Okay.
So it was around those like late teens, teen years when I got more into that kind of extreme music.
So the psychedelic stuff came from your parents, like your dad's record collection or something like that.
No, not exactly. My dad has some Jethro Tull and I found the greatest hits of the Doors at one point, but I was already I had a couple of friends from school with which with whom I played in bands later on, and they kind of their parents had like big collection of
That's a good record.
that kind of like old 60s and 70s hippie stuff. So I was kind of like I got exposed to that stuff through them and started like playing with them some music. Like I think I must have been like 13 years or something like that. But we kind of had a proper band since like 14 or 15 years old. Yeah.
That was the punk band Pericato, or was that before that even?
Pericato was a lot later. I had with the singer of Pericato, I have been having. He was the guy who introduced me to hardcore punk in the first place. We exchanged. I gave him some The Doors and Jethro Tull, and he kind of turned his point of view because he didn't like any of this hippie stuff before, and I got introduced by him to Terveet Kädet and Lama Chaos, Riistetyt, the old like classic Finnish hardcore punk, and then yeah, I think we were 17 years old or something like that. We started our first band, and Pericato must have been like fourth or fifth, something like that. Like
The first
not
few.
not all of the bands ever released anything, but it was like we that he's the guy I've been doing the hardcore punk
Yeah.
my whole life, and after Perikato, we've been even continuing with a couple of other bands,
Uh,
him as well. So
did you buy
yeah,
records?
Perikato, say 2010 to 2018 or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Did you buy records at the time when you were a teenager? Were you interested in records or just tape trading?
yeah, yeah. It was mostly like CDs,
Yeah. It
the
was the
stuff
same.
you could find and afford.
Hmm.
As a kid, of course, the vinyl wasn't that expensive that time, and when I was when I got into hardcore punk, I started buying vinyl. My first vinyl records were some like from the local distros, like small labels releasing and distributing stuff.
Yeah.
So I started buying like LPs and 7 inches when I was like from the age 17 or something like that. Before that, it was like mostly CDs from the local record store. They're like really like basic classics. I think the Doors was the first band I got the whole like full, all the albums on CD. I remember
Okay.
having the collection,
I think
and
it's
yeah,
weird because my story is kind of the same. Not to interject myself into the story too much, but the first thing I got from my dad was a CD from Doors, was L.A. Woman. So that got me on the path.
yeah,
But he was way into like Zappa and all the prog stuff. And then I was into hardcore, so that kind of mixed too. Um,
yeah,
the way I found Hail Conjurer kind of links to that because it was around the Corona periods where I didn't buy any records because I was afraid I get germs in the house. So I was going through my old
yeah,
record collections and seeing what I still had, and I came upon the I'm blanking on the bands. Right, not the Right for Vengeance, the Horse Latitudes split
yeah.
with Hooded Menace, which are two bands you were in. I started listening to Horse Latitudes because at the time I was into Sun and all the drone stuff and stuff like that. So that's when I realized, okay, it's the same guy. And then I went deep into Hail Conjurer. So it was all around that same period, the 2020s, stuff like that. You played in Horse Latitudes for a long. Did you start a band, or were you there at the beginning, or?
Um, I joined it in the very like I got I didn't start the band, but I joined it immediately.
You
It
mean?
was a band with two bass players.
Yeah.
Another one being Malefic I Haiti, who's
Mm.
been joining us, who'll be joining us like yeah. But it's yeah. They had been play an idea of playing some like Hellhammer meets Earth 2
That was it.
sort of stuff. So so they had this idea of two bass players, and I, I got to know Haiti at that time. I had just moved to Helsinki,
Okay.
and then they asked me to become a join as a drummer because they wanted to have a drummer after all, and like really rehearsing a few times. We were talking about maybe we need to singing or not, and they didn't want to do that, so I kind of took the job of
Because you.
playing drums. Yeah, but yeah, it was like yeah. I think I don't know. I think I have been since the first rehearsals, but they had the idea of not the name, but the idea
Okay.
already. Joined. Yeah,
The idea is rather strong. The Hellhammer with the Earth, the two kind of match. The thing is, if you start listening to all of it, like I did in preparation of this, the Horse Latitudes, the Hell Conjurer, the Regere Sinister, you hear that rattling bass tone kind of creeps throughout all of it, which it's. I mean, the bass tone interlinks all those things. I'm not saying it's the same band or the same sound, but that very specific bass sound is present in a lot of projects.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny because in all the projects, many of the projects or bands, the the equipment or the tuning haven't been all the same.
Okay.
So it's but it's still like I know what you mean. I think it's more like the aesthetic or the sound, like the way I like my bass
Yeah.
sound. It's not like it's not yeah, it's not about like using the same gear or something like that, or like even trying to get the same sound, but it's always the sound that kind of
Yeah.
creeps in, yeah, when starting to play. So yeah.
Is it because I can play drums a bit, but I don't know anything about bass. Is it because the sound sounds like the strings are loosened? You know what I mean? They rattle against the board, or is it the playing style?
I think more of the playing style,
No.
but it's yeah, of course, some lots of stuff can
Yeah, yeah.
make things sound as they sound, but I think it's more like the way of playing. It's like it's not too delicate, you know. It's a yeah,
It's that yeah, that like you said, the eternal drive that bands like Velvet Underground have, and then just the
yeah,
cadence of keep going, keep going, keep going. Yeah,
yeah,
Horse Latitudes, Right for Revenge, Pericato, Pussies, Devil's Gateway, Regere Sinister, Hollow Woods. The list keeps ticking on. Why I want to talk a bit about these bands is because every sound or every genre is implemented into Hail Conjurer in the end. I think there all the influences come together a bit, but we're jumping ahead. Can you talk a bit about the start of Hail Conjurer? The internet, as we call it, says 2017, but I heard or read somewhere that it was a bit earlier than the concept was earlier.
yeah. Uh, I had been the very same year that Horse Latitude was starting, uh, 2009. I s- I recorded. I did like some demo stuff like by myself.
Hmm.
Like I wanted to. I had some idea of like black metal stuff going on, but the stuff was a little bit like all over the place.
Yeah,
Uh, they didn't they didn't come as a like a that tightly as a whole together. So it kind of was buried there. But and throughout the years, I borrowed like had some stuff. I started there. I took for to Horse Latitudes.
yeah,
I and even some like heavy metal bands, some like melodic parts and stuff like that. But but I still had even though I was cannibalizing the stuff for the other bands, or even just the name of the song was like, for example, Black Soil,
yeah,
Horse Latitude song. The name was of one instrumental song from that period. Uh, I still had the idea of like I wanted to do a return to that thing, but it didn't like feel relevant. I was like doing Horse Latitudes and stuff, and like getting all the inspiration into that stuff.
yeah,
But by that time, but like few years after I joined Right for Revenge, it's kind of a of course I was like contributing that music as well, but still like had the idea of a little bit different like black metal stuff,
yeah,
and like without the the sort of concept that the Right for Revenge was already when I joined the band.
yeah. Hmm.
So so it was 2016 late and early 2017 when I just like continued like got back to the whole setup that's just playing drums
Yeah,
and then bass and then guitar, just like building like layer by layer, and it was and then it clicked.
yeah. Okay.
Even though the two first demos were a little bit here or there, and the style was a little bit like finding its way. If, I could feel that now I kind of found the way, and but yeah, you can hear some of those old, early demos. Like when the first edition of Crude Magic,
Yeah,
the demo compilation was I included uh, Last Vision. The song Last Vision was one of those 2009 demos.
yeah,
And now when Into Endless Chaos Records released the double LP version of it, I added. It's not listed on the sleeves, but there are like the whole B side
Ah,
is
okay.
just
A
the
bonus.
2009 stuff. So I added three more songs
As a secret
from that.
track.
Yeah.
That's cool. Is it fair to say that around the demo periods, especially, you were looking for a more raw sound? And were you looking for the sound, or was it just what came out? Because at that time, the entire black metal thing was steeped and delved into the entire raw black metal. Actually, the sound, no keyboards, no frills, just the pure essence. Was that something you were looking for, knowing that Right for Revenge is basically already a pretty raw band?
Uh, it wasn't like I wanted to like raw.
Yeah,
If I wanted to make it like really raw, I would have made it already.
fair
It's
enough.
because in my opinion, it's not like that raw.
No,
It's it's unpolished,
yeah,
but
crude maybe.
but it's still like there's you can kind of hear what you're doing. It's
Yeah,
not like
yeah,
just like like layers of distortion.
mhm.
But yeah, I think it will because the Right for Revenge, the whole like the concept is so there's this it's so like heavy, the heaviness and all the stuff. It's not, of course, it's more than that, but I sound wise, I wanted to have this have more air and more like maybe more this kind of different sort of atmosphere.
Yeah,
Even though, of course, there's the influence comes because it's like doing with both. You cannot always tell the difference between the atmosphere, but
yeah,
in my mind, it was more like a little bit more traditional,
yeah,
like in a way, because Right for Revenge is so like untraditional in a way of this kind of second wave stuff. So of course, I had the whole thing. I didn't want to go to the second wave sound like, but anything like that. But it was more like navigating more into the other like early stages of
yeah,
black metal. Like, so
yeah,
I think Greek influence got in like pretty quickly
yeah,
as well. Like early Rotting Christ and all that stuff kind of inspiring me at the time.
yeah. Yeah, I asked because I misused the word raw because I wanted to set it off against that scene. But what you said, the musicality that shines through. Maybe I should have used the word more crude or more unrefined, like you said. But the musicality is actually what got me into Hell Conjurer around that time, just because I was oversaturated with the distortion, the full on barrage of noise. And like you said,
Yeah.
The Greek influence. We will talk about that more in a minute, but that shines through, especially with the bass and the entire thing. But later on in the discography of Hell Conjurer, you allow more and more of those extra genres to come in. I mean, in the beginning, everybody says, or when you read reviews, Hell Conjurer always gets put in the black metal category, which is a fine point, but I think they overlook the doom part almost every time. Whether you call it black doom or you call it traditional doom, there is this very hard bass or a bass layer in the Hell Conjurer sound that is pure doom actually, which was also
Well,
present in Horse Latitudes, I think.
yeah, yeah, but I think black metal is a good label for
Hmm.
it because I think it covers the whole thing
Yeah,
because uh, I think black metal as a term is least of all these metal subgenres. I think black metal is the least like some particular sound
yeah,
or even some like technical classification.
hmm,
It's more it's it's something more and it kind of it leaves freedom to kind of use tools from anything like at hand sort of to get the like the music right.
yeah.
So
It is
of
more.
course there.
It's a subgenre with the most dogmas and the most rules. If you read about it, but it is the most free in the entire thing because like you said, every genre within black metal is a genre in itself, all categorized under black metal. So doom metal
Yeah,
can come in.
yeah, and having all those like the idea of having like lots of rules is it's kind of a paradoxical because I think like the whole idea of black metal at the first place was to do something original,
Yeah,
not to follow like the sound of the period, but like even the bands who were working together wanted to sound like themselves,
yeah.
not like the other.
Mhm.
So it's I think I think I know what you mean about the rules, and there's like a it's more many times it can be like a misconception about the rules and the kind of um, the idea of it keeping it pure
Yeah, pure.
in
What?
a way. Because it's more like a it's kind of it's not that you can sell anything as black metal. E- even though some people try it,
Yeah,
some people
true.
it's not like you can do that.
Uh-huh.
There's something, but it's like I think it's more like a test. Like it's I can find the right English word, but like a trial by fire, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can. The goal is to find your own voice and the break the rules, but like in order to do that, it's got you have to be exposed to the idea of that you might not be understood,
yeah,
you might be losing the whole idea. So it's kind of a test for the will, so to speak.
yeah. Maybe rules again was the wrong word. You need a few markers to have something that resembles black metal, but the if you want to explain the term black metal, you immediately hit a wall because there is so much going. You can't explain how, for example, the Room is black metal and how Mayhem is black metal or something. It's completely different,
Yeah,
but it's still that's what's cool about it. Like you said, the freedom is. I mean, Abruptum is also considered black metal, while it's pure black noise or ambient or so it's all under that same umbrella, which is very and that's what makes it interesting, I guess. It keeps it
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, definitely.
Um, you started around the demo period. When did you decide to go live with Hail Conjurer? Because I don't see that as an easy feat to go, from a very private, maybe demo releasing project to then all of a sudden world conquering live band or one person band.
Yeah, it was it wasn't intentional in the beginning. Like when I was starting the band, that was like more like the idea that I will never play live
Yeah,
because it didn't make sense
it's one
because
of the
I didn't
rules.
want. Yeah, yeah, and because I didn't want to have the like the band members that I need to like teach
Yeah, yeah,
not only what I was playing but also some sort of a perspective, the whole like way of doing the music because I kind of I don't know if I could have like even translated it
yeah. Okay.
what was happening in me.
Hmm.
The music was already the translation, so I wasn't intending to do that. But after the first two demos, there were after they were recorded, um, there was this a friend of mine was coming to play in Finland from the States, and it was sort of a private little gig.
Yeah.
Uh, it happened to be my birthday, so it was kind of a because I knew it would be like only like 20 to 30 people there.
Okay.
It kind of yeah. So I kind of like
A
had
low
the
budget
idea.
situation.
Yeah, so I maybe I do something special.
Yeah.
So I do like maybe one off gig for Hail Conjurer. But the problem was that I didn't have any like backing tracks
Ah, okay.
like from the demos, because the mixing I was doing was such um, elementary that I don't even anymore have the drums and the bass like separately. They were all like the songs. I couldn't like isolate them from the mix anymore to make a backing track, and I didn't want to go to the drum machine stuff. I wanted it to be actually me playing there, even though like I was actually playing something else, but I wanted all the instruments to play there. So I had to record a new backing track, and the first album, Dreams of Serpent, was kind of a result of that process.
Okay.
I started recording new stuff in order to perform them live,
and it became an album.
It became an album, and I wrote some like synth sections, like in between the songs. Yeah,
I'm going to grab it so people can see.
Yeah,
this is the.
But yeah, that was
the first.
Yeah, one. Yeah, the first album, and it was the same day that I performed the live that the second demo was released.
Okay.
So
this definitely came after then. The album came after the live show.
Sorry?
The album came after the live show.
Yeah, it came out. I think the CD version came out the next January. This was July when the show was played, and so it was the next year, 2018, when the album came out. But it was already recorded.
Yeah.
That summer. Yeah.
One of the since we're talking about this album, one of the sickest tracks in the entire discography is The Witch's Throat. It immediately, because it's all very all over the place, but when that hits, you don't know what's going on. It's so out of the norm, and it reins it in and becomes a black metal song. But when you first hear not the intro, but the entire first half, or maybe more than the first half, it's such a weird sound to, especially around that time, thinking back to what I was listening to and then finding this one. So that is definite highlights in the discography.
Yeah.
So the live set, I've seen you live 2 times. Once at Pankrak Festival in Belgium, I think, last year, and then
2 years ago.
2 years ago already. Oh yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe last year.
It could be.
It can be.
They skipped a year. I don't know. And then London last year. The setup is, like you said, you play the backing track and you play guitar and vocals, just you on stage. Yeah. What's your instrument? Are you a drummer? Are you a bass player? I think vocals came first. No, in the way.
Yeah. Like my first instrument I started to play was guitar, but I never got any better with that. I've never been good at playing guitar. It's just like all the things I know to play with the guitar are the things I played live or on record.
Oh.
I never even learned one Deep Purple song or anything like that. Like I could find a riff, but I never had, because I just hate practicing.
Yeah.
I hate it so much. So I never, from the early stages, like from teenage years, I always like wanted to make music, not to play. So the playing is just a tool
to
get stuff. Yeah, to make it. So I never got any better than you can actually hear on the records. So it's I started with guitar, but I think if I had to, besides vocals, if I had to describe one instrument as like my main thing is basically mostly the drums.
Okay.
Because it's not that I'm good either. I'm not like any better playing drums, but it's more like about the way I think of music.
Yeah.
The rhythm and this kind of a beat.
Yeah.
And those patterns are most of the times they are very present in the process of creating music and stuff. So I think that's the one I'm most comfortable with, even though technical abilities aren't that good.
When you're writing for Hell Conjurer, like for example, you were writing the backing tracks. Do you start with drum?
Um, Not always with the writing, but always with recording. I start with the drums, but
Yeah.
it's like I said, I rarely pick an instrument.
Yeah.
I don't go jamming anywhere. It's more like a um, all the stuff I've written before recording are mostly like these kind of ideas that pop in my head.
Okay.
Sometimes a rhythmic part that kind of there's already a sense about the riffing or anything or something like that. Sometimes a melody,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
it's for example, Hail Conjurer is all the records are the kinds that when I started recording, I didn't have the whole thing in my mind, and
Entire record.
some of the records have been like being created during the process, like almost like 80%.
Yeah.
Maybe one riff for a song, but it's just like getting into the feeling, into the most primal idea
Hmm.
of the sound, and then just like finding my way through the drums, and then starting to kind of use the use the drums as a key to the next layer.
Okay. Yeah.
Like kind of
Like building
feeling,
blocks.
feeling the drum part and like what it calls for, sort
Yeah.
of thing. So the writing is mostly also recording.
One of the
When,
questions was, I have questions in the back, but one of the questions was, why is Hail Conjurer so prolific? But I think that's the answer, because your head is constantly full with layers of new music.
yeah, and it's also because it's only me. It's
Yeah.
there's no like if you have a real band with many people, you have to find time to go to rehearsal place
True.
and adjust all the schedules and stuff. So the process is maybe really long,
Yeah.
like and communicating through the things. But with Hail Conjurer, it's more like there's stuff like piling up
Yeah.
and bubbling, and then when I have the time,
Just,
uh, I take the time 1 or 2 weeks like to work with that thing,
yeah.
and I get all the things recorded, all the things also mixed, like usually within 2 weeks. But it's not like I'm been doing that the whole time. It's more like once or twice a year.
Yeah.
It happens because all the other stuff are going on. It looks like that I'm constantly creating because of the pace of the record
Yeah.
of the releases. But
Always.
for example, the new one that was just released, it was recorded last spring,
Yeah.
and that's the last time I've actually like put on any new Hail Conjurer stuff.
Yeah.
So it's usually like really burst like moments that capture the kind of a
The energy at present at the time.
yeah, and that have been piling up since because always when one is finished, there's some like new vibrations. Yeah, so I it's kind of a navigating through the calling you like so
Yeah.
to speak. So
I
yeah,
love the idea that your head is like a pressure cooker, and then when it's time to blow, it's just a new Hell Conjurer album.
yeah.
Do you always record naked, or is it just one? I've seen one picture of you standing naked in a recording room.
It's not always, but sometimes. Yeah, that was Hollow Woods. I think the first.
Oh, okay, okay.
It was the one online. It was when we were recording the first Hollow Woods
Yeah.
album. It was
It's how
after the softer parts went to more this primitive, so kind of a atavistic way of
it felt necessary.
yeah,
Is Hollow Woods is the one that's releasing on Senior Hex, right?
yeah.
Is that the complete lineup of Horse Latitudes, or just people and then?
No, it's not complete lineup. It's some of the Horse Latitudes people and
Okay.
then also like from other bands. But
Yeah.
it's like couple of the guys were the guys I've been like was really familiar with because working with Horse Latitudes. But it's the band that I joined as just like a session vocalist at first,
Okay.
because the guys had all the songs and all the whole concept was already kind of formulated when I joined. But yeah, I've been like, my work is to arrange the vocals. I like to make it like to sound like it's not like they tell me how to sing or anything like that. But I want to like to find my own way to interpret the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of mostly the other guys' band.
You have a few
which
bands
I'm
like that.
yeah.
Like Hooded Menace is also that kind of situation where the thing is actually very complete, and then you just break out.
Yeah, and Udis Menes is more like that. Lasse even arranges the vocal parts.
Okay. Like that.
He's like really holding the whole thing to, like, he's doing everything else besides some lyrics.
Okay.
But even with the other person's lyrics, he's the one that arranged the whole thing. So that's the band I consider myself just an instrument
Okay.
for his music.
Good.
So, but I'm glad to do that. For example, the split you mentioned,
Yep.
that was the the time I got to know Lasse, because
Because
I wasn't in Hooded Menace, and he liked Horse Latitudes and wanted to like collaborate, and I was already like a fan of his work. So it was when he later on, years later, asked me to join. It was like, of course.
It's weird how all those labels, like that was released on Dumancia from Germany, for example. The early Horse Latitudes was released on Aurora Borealis, which was another label that I completely adore, with such good acts, such good bands like Axe and Cloak, like you guys. Sylvester Anfang was on there, so really good time around 2012, 2013 period for a lot of really great music. Yeah, something to delve into. I am keeping an eye at the time, and we still have a lot of ground to cover. What are some of the themes that Hail Conjurer deals with, in the sense of not the artwork per se, but lyric-wise? Where are we going with themes on there?
That's a tricky part, because like Hail Conjurer is when considering about the lyrics, it's a or any other album except Satanic Phenomenology.
Mm-hmm.
Any other album has lots of like lyric parts that aren't lyrics in a like traditional sense. It's more like
Not storytelling per se.
Some really like something that they are like real words, but it's more like that I haven't been written them like as lyrics, but in more sometimes there's just like a theme in my mind, or an idea, and some like rough word here and there, and it's kind of building up during the process. So so from the very early stages, I've kind of considered Hail Conjurer's one theme, so to speak, to kind of get over this kind of a rational way of thinking, like with the conceptual thinking and stuff like that. Of course, the names of the songs are kind of they give you the frame, or point towards the
points.
Yeah, reference points. Also for me, it's kind of they're kind of like the grounding in this conceptual mind, and maybe the more real being that is working through the music. So it's that's what, maybe that's one theme. It's like a kind of trying to grasp beyond the
Yeah.
rational and conceptual world. But of course, it's been refining throughout the years, and satanic phenomenology is the one I actually wanted to write lyrics because I wanted to have maybe more philosophical uh, like a point of view
Hmm.
to those things. So yeah, lots of different dualities that I'm kind of exploring, but not in a way that I I would consider the dualities be like the real picture of the world or how the world is, but it's more like
On a metaphysical way, or
yeah, and it's more like going. Um, it's sort of prior, like prior to those dualistic concepts, like before, not like as in time before, but a little bit more before the whole division,
hmm
like finding um, the core, the what is it all like the will, the flesh, or other words I've been using to describe the whole thing, and it's and I think that art in a way is also a major thing and major way to get over those obstacles I was describing. So it's kind of at the same time I'm dealing with the theme of how I'm doing it.
yeah.
So it's kind of a
So it's kind of like a
at
map
the
for you, and kind of a map
yeah
for
it's
you.
like yeah, but it's also the actual work of doing it.
Yeah.
Like so um,
Is that like, because there's
yeah.
another question if the flesh, like you say, or the body and the music, if they are separate, but it's kind of what I hear you saying is that you have to do the work to build up the discography, or the story behind Hell Conjurer, and the work to build up the flesh. Is there a duality in those, or?
Yeah, yeah, but it's not about building the flesh because it's like the flesh and the body are the same. The
Mhm.
flesh is more like this will in action.
Ah, okay.
Body is just
The vessel.
the yeah sort of the so the flesh is the whole. So it's not like I'm building a pile of flesh. If you do this metaphor, it's more like like make it living thing. Like every single like every act every act is a act of flesh.
Uh-huh.
So every so this music, I think it's like it's always like kind of getting it in some kind of form or some way to like not channel is also not a bad word of choice because it's not like there's some spirit channeling
Mm.
through this existence, but it's more like it's it's like throppy like throbs of flesh. I think everything thing I do is like
A pulse.
some yeah it's the pulse it's the blood rushing through the this world of flesh
Yeah.
and it make it appear a little different all the time. It's like flesh in action. I think that's maybe that's it. Not
It's
yeah.
it's almost is that the psychedelic side of Hell Conjurer? Because there is a psychedelic side to Hell Conjurer. Is there is there anything? Are you into magic, or do you use magic in Hell Conjurer, or in some way?
Um, I would say it is magic.
Yeah, but music is
Yeah, that
magic, but
yeah. The music is magic. That's the way I do magic.
yeah.
It's not like yeah. It's a. I think I would need more time to get it deeper, but yeah, I think that I see the work of art when it's authentic.
Hmm.
I see it as magic, and I think that's the um, yeah in a way that is it's it's all same time, it's like I said, like pumping the blood in the world of flesh. It makes it a living thing.
Yeah.
In a way. So it's kind of I don't like a magic word. The word magic is so filled with the meanings of like spiritual world or like the world about like beyond or above. But I like I said, my aim and my goal is more to get more into the actual world before these dualistic concepts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a this is like really naive, but if this traditional concept of magic with this kind of a spiritual thing tries to lead above it, I dig in
Yeah.
and sort of grow something new out. So it's not like channeling these spells in this way. Of course, this metaphorical level, it's always it can work like that as well. But I think that for me the way I'm working and the themes I'm working with they kind of aim to different sort a little different magical approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, because we glossed over, is there a psychedelic part to Hail Conjurer? Do you feel that there's some psych in there? Not per se in the sounds, but in, for example, since we're doing teams, we have to delve into artwork. I think there are a few stages within your artwork, like the demo periods, and then into all the white records, like the split with, for example, above there. And then all of a sudden, some color pops up, and I'm not saying the sound changes or the trajectory of the band changes, but you have the one with the serpent up there, the phoenix with the serpents. But then, in my opinion, at least in the last three, you have the Ouroboros Lust satanic phenomenology, I think, and then the last one is Order of Disgrace, where I feel that that's another level into Hail Conjurer or the discography or the music of Hail Conjurer. It seems like that's is it a trilogy, or am I overreading into that?
Yeah, it's everything is linked. Everything is linked. It's getting into like with with every release it kind of um, this is a word bad word of choice as well, but it's kind of a rebirth of the whole thing with every record. So it's kind of it's a new perspective. All the records give a new perspective, so it's kind of a maybe the colors, like for example, Hail and Fire, uh, above your head. It was more into the like nature and pagan themes of the same things I have been dealing with the earlier ones. So it was kind of a representing that kind of a more fleshy, more vivid side of the whole process. So, yeah.
I'm gonna interject a bit. Heidi,
Hi.
welcome first of all, but we can hear ourselves really loud through your computer, I think.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear
It's
you.
really loud.
We
It's
can
really
hear
loud.
ourselves. Perfect.
Yeah, I can hear myself. I'm not sure if this is recording or I mean are the voice settings okay? Is the picture clear? This kind of.
It's really loud right now.
I'm out
Your
now.
mic input is loud or something.
Okay, wait a second. I'll try to check how I get it on. Can you hear now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good.
But
Is it
might
enough loud?
It's too loud. Uh, so are we doing a maintenance break right now? Uh,
There is some like a connection issue. Yeah.
Can you log off for a minute, and then when we finish, I'll contact you again.
Okay. Okay. I will log out. I try to see how it succeeds. Leave. Is that leave? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll contact you.
Yeah.
She's gone.
All right.
We need to figure out. I lost track of the time, but yeah, it's 8 o'clock. Yeah, for everybody, as you can see, we will have a guest later on. Where were we? From the yeah. I think for time's sake, we need to cut a bit or make a few shortcuts. We were at the colorful stages, or the last trilogy. Around the time I saw you first was the Ouroboros Lost came out with a really fleshed out concept of the artwork of the very colorful, very different than we were used to. The first solitary female person on the record. At the same time, you were in the booklets, bare chested with fishnets on. So once again there is a duality of the female figure on the cover, and then you as a new character almost. What was the concept there?
That was a really personal record in many ways. So it kind of reflects all those themes, but it was already originated with the demo Lunar Action.
Okay.
I had recorded like a year before, so it kind of continued the whole thing, like just more album. Like the demo was demo with just rough ideas, rough sketches of the themes and stuff. So yeah, Ouroboros Last was an album dealing with those kind of things. So yeah, there was this kind of like the all the colors, they kind of represented the different tones I was going, and it was like a really erotic record,
yeah,
in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
So it was it was I wanted to now Heidi's back.
I try to get this working. Can you hear and see me?
Yeah, we can hear and see you, but it's still the same thing. So maybe just shut, and then I'll call you when we're done with the first part.
Excuse me, can you repeat?
We'll finish this.
I can't hear what you say. There is like some connection issue. It kind of cuts the sound.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
I think it's better that we finish this with me and Harry, and then I'll call you, and then we'll figure out what the problem is.
Okay.
But it's gonna be 20 minutes, half an hour. Cool.
20 minutes. Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. That's fine. Bye.
Yeah. So the whole color thing was it kind of everything is there on purpose. Let me put it that way. So and you interpreted the whole like those pictures we took with the cover artist, Tekla Vali, who did the cover art. She also wanted to do this photo shoot, like with the same color theme. So it was totally intentional to go with the themes and the dualities, femininity and masculinity thing. So it was kind of because there always had been present this so-called duality with these forces, even though it may be, so for some people it may appear as more the other, but it's there was also this other side of it as well. So we kind of wanted to explore it in full in that context. Yeah.
I didn't say it was shocking, but it was in the context of Hail Conjurer and knowing the artwork and the records. It was like, yeah, shocking. Once again, is not the right word, but it was like an eye opener to see like, wow, this is something completely different. Artwork wise, and it worked really, really well. Was that the first album you did on Crypt of the Wizard? First full?
Yeah. Yes. It was. Yeah, the CD had already been out
Yeah.
a few months, and I was going to play in UK, so it's because the vinyl version wasn't in works yet. So because I had been in contact and talking about the other releases, like we had this Pussies album on Crypto Wizard, so yeah, wanted to kind of talk. It was an idea to make it happen at the same time in the UK to release Ouroboros Last. But yeah, after that had been the couple of other records as well, because it's kind of it works nicely.
Yeah.
Because Bestial Burst, they like it's putting CDs there and the vinyl on Crypto Wizard.
Yeah, I like all the labels you release on. It's a nice layer of black metal labels throughout the entire world, like Hildegard, New Era, Crypt, Bestial Burst, and so on and so on. That's the first album. Second in the trilogy, if I may, is the Satanic Phenomenology. The story is that you injured yourself, and then there had more time to work on that record, which made it more fleshed out, even bigger than the intent was. What was the story there, or how did that work?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah,
almost precisely 2 years ago. I fell on my wrist and like a stupid accident, and it was something broke here. So I already had the idea of recording the album. I had been dealing with the themes and the riffs and stuff, and I was supposed to record it already like early June, because it was late May that I injured myself. I had a timeout for that. I couldn't do the drums and stuff like so. I recorded all the instrumental, like noise and ambient parts during those like several weeks I was recovering, and also wrote down the lyrics for the very first time.
Okay.
Kind of so worked through the concept. So when I finally got into recording, it was actually right after the Pancraker Fest, because that was the first time I could play without the whole thing in my wrist. I had just given up. So after that, when I came back to Finland, like in a couple of weeks, I recorded Satanic Phenomenology. But the album was already like pre-worked in my head, so it was really quick process.
I think it's still very cool that you can have the entire, not just the concept, but the entire record in your head. I think it's a good way for someone that works solo, that you can like build it up and then almost vomit it out in a sense. The third record, and that is the last one we're going to talk about for now, is the Order of Disgrace, that came out not that long ago. I think not half a year. It's not that old, I guess.
No, it's just a few months. The first version was the LP version, released at the Wizard Festival, Life After Death Festival, but it was the last day of February.
Yeah,
that was the release day, but the CD and the tape was released just last month, so it's a really new one.
The tagline is: the new order of passion and disgrace reveals sin and lust as the active antithesis of piety and spirituality, instead of passive lack of them, as carnal tools for purifying from grace and light. In comparison, for the cold flame of satanic phenomenology, the fire in Order of Disgrace burns much hotter, reflected with the production of the album. I think that's a very good. It's a weird way to describe an album, but it's a good way to describe an album, because I listened to it once again today, and every every genre within Hail Conjurer is represented on the album. Every track is kind of a different style of music. I've made a cheat sheet, like the antithesis. The first is a dead march, almost the intro. Let Him Watch is a very ominous track. I think the title alone creeps me out. I have the same feel as when I'm watching Cape Fear, some psychological thriller in that, just from the title track. Is a harsh track. Then there's a slower heavy metal thing on here. Holden is noise, power electronics, industrial, and it keeps going and going. It's just the entire scope of what Hail Conjurer can do. Was that the intent, to make such a varied album, or is that just what comes out of it?
Yeah, it was, and even though I had already all this, I kind of wanted to almost every song have a different sound.
Yeah.
But they were recorded in the same session, so I kind of, for example, on some, like for example, the noise Huoruuden perkele, the noise one, it's basically drums recorded into the tape with a like full distortion, like all red sort of things.
My ears are all red.
Yeah, but it's the whole thing was that I had already like also the sound, the sonic concept, like every sound should kind of complement what the track was about. So it was I was like working with a tape player, like now this song, so I play drums to the tape on this song, and but one thing I wanted to, every single song has exactly the same guitar tone. I wanted to have one thing that is the constant with all those things, and also wanted to kind of explore more normal guitar sound.
Yeah,
I think that was I even borrowed a guitar for that matter from a person I knew that could do like a real heavy metal sound.
Okay.
So I wanted to. So it's kind of I think it's production wise, it's one that I was having most detailed idea before recording. So yeah, and it like the promotional text says, it's a pretty natural continuation to the satanic phenomenology.
Mm-hmm.
It's just some same themes, but it's whereas there's more this philosophical level. There's this. I was reading some theological texts about like Lestadian, which is like a Christian sect, mostly in Finland and Sweden. They're like the theological interpretation of these themes that I was already dealing with in satanic phenomenology. So I wanted to turn more that way, and it's more like bathing in this sin, you know. It's about like turning the order of grace upside down, like a really like getting rid of that grace, you know, restrictions.
Well, the biggest compliment I can give it is that although it is all different sounds, like you said, the guitar is the bass tone, it never feels fragmented. It feels like an actual album, but it takes you just on this wild ride of all journeys. I think we promised Heidi about 20 minutes, so I'm going to. I think we kind of hit everything. There's more we can go into, of course, but I have some questions, and that's the first time I actually have questions on one of these talks. One is, of course, had to be mentioned. What is your bench press? Is the first one.
Bench press. I don't know exactly, because I rarely do like normal bench press.
I thought so.
More like inclined dumbbell bench, and it's I don't do like max, like 1 rep max.
Okay.
So it's usually sets with 45 kilogram dumbbells.
There you go.
So
that was
inclined.
That was Freckhank's question from Instagram. Pagan Yorkshire has a few. He had why is Hail Conjurer so prolific, which we kind of discussed. What was it like meeting Pentti Linkola? It's one of his questions.
Well, I was I met him many times because I was working in this kind of environmental like forest protection group
Mhm.
for several years back in the days, and that organization when I was at one point I was like the head of the organization
Okay.
was was the support organization for Linkola's foundation to buy and protect Finnish like natural forests.
Okay.
So in that and other organization, it was like working like with how organizations work. So yeah, of course, I had been before I was doing join before I joined those organizations. I was as a teenager, like 18, 19 years old, when I first read Linkola stuff. They were really had a big impact on how I started to see things like revealing moment, even
Yeah.
like turning the whole worldview upside down, like getting rid of these anthropocentric ways of seeing world and life, and Linkola's texts played a huge part on who I became to be
Mhm.
in my early like youth.
Okay.
So of course, when I got to meet him and work with him, it was there was this level as well. Of
Yeah.
course,
Okay.
I was really excited about.
Is it safe to say that when you were into punk and hardcore, that the nature was always there, but that it was more the activism, and that black metal made it sort of a religion or a yeah.
No, I wouldn't say religion. It's a it's also, of course it's a different way of approaching things. With punk is more dealing with like like society and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
So it's more like I think somehow more practical.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say religious when I work with black metal, but it's more like um, exposing myself into a lot more
Yeah.
and like trying to be and finding my way to be more open to all the sides of being and the world and all the stuff. So it's yeah, it's a, like not working with the everyday
Yeah.
like shit and stuff, but more like trying to go beyond or be, be below. So it's yeah, the perspective is different,
Yeah.
but it's a yeah, but it's still there. Like Devil's Gateway,
Yeah.
the band is it's really much about the animal rights, ecological points of view. So it's even though it's not like that punk, there's still the whole
The
it
philosophy.
deals with, yeah, it deals with more like punk stuff
Okay.
than black metal does. Yeah.
The last question is from Air Alex. Harry, that CD you made with Metsakriko, I think the Brown Hill Mafia guys, Mailmansioya, something like that. There's a track
Yeah.
on it called Threads of Destiny. I've been listening to Coil for over 20 years, and yet you guys have woven into a natural musical magic within that song. It's a blueprint for a whole new genre. The artwork with the CDs has nude male within nature as a positive image, as with your own records. His question is naked male within nature and music our way forward? It's pretty cool.
I didn't hear that. Is the naked man
It
in?
is the naked male within nature and music our weird way forward.
Uh, I think the whole nudity with the Metsakirkko stuff becomes because we were dealing with so much with the natural world and all this yeah, it's just the only way we could do that. Like getting ourselves stripped down from the civilized forms
Yeah.
of us more like a
The
yeah,
costume. The costume.
yeah. There's lots of this kind of really primal ritualistic elements to that collaboration
Yeah.
and uh, and the music we did. So yeah, I think that the whole this bodily nudity stuff, it's linked, very much linked to that point of view. Yeah.
There's been a lot of nudes males on CD, like Goat Moon had the 7 inch where he was nude all of a sudden, so it is kind of prevalent.
Well, yeah, it's a Finnish thing also. Like
Yeah.
it's not a big deal for us.
No,
It,
I think
like in many, especially nowadays, in many like this really moralist, puritanistic, almost like a Christian valued, like people getting mad over over these
the Christian shame,
profanities.
the Christian shame is still real in a lot of places. I think around here, our parts, like where Catholicism is still prevalent, there is
Yeah,
definitely a dogma still about nudity and stuff like that. So
yeah, what I find the most funny is that there's even some black metal people who like consider to like them to be in this black metal context. They kind of got it under their skin, and that I find really weird.
it's those unspoken rules again that we talked about in the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We came full circle.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to thank you for this part, knowing that there is a second part coming up, but we'll finish up here and get Heidi out of her solitary hell.
Yeah.
I'll see you in a minute. Thanks, man.
Yes. Thanks.
Hey, hi, Heidi. Welcome.
Hi.
Third time's the charm. Here we are.
Yeah, finally.
Finally. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for doing this. We are going to talk about the band you are both in, called Regere Sinister. But before we go into that maniacal thing, please introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, I am Malefic I. Yeah, that's my artist name in Regere Sinister, but also known as Nordic Elukka and just Heidi. Yeah. And well, I'm the bassist, vocalist, keyboardist in Regere Sinister, and that's the band which I do with the Harry, Mr. Conjurer. And we both are also involved in our Ride for events where we have been playing together, and before that, Horse Latitudes, where we have been playing together. So we have been knowing each other for almost a decade, like 15 years or something. Long while, yeah.
Almost 20 years.
Over?
Sorry?
Almost 20 years.
Yeah. Almost 20 years soon, yeah.
When I was looking into Regere Sinister and then seeing the past and then already knowing the bands but not knowing you were both in there was kind of a mind blowing thing to see that. Before we dive into Regere Sinister, please shed some light on Depravement. That's a band you are also involved in, which had a killer record on Zombie Dance last year. Can you shed some light on that, because I think a lot of people know Regere Sinister, but Depravement kind of went under some people's radar. So
yeah. We actually recorded that self-titled demo already on 2020, and actually Harley recorded it for us. So Mr. Conjurer is also involved on this recording process of the demo. But yeah, the Depravement band, it started originally by our guitarist, vocalist, and our drummer, and their first demo was more like this pure death metal style, and then they wanted to involve more in this a black death direction and asked me to join and our other guitarist join, and then we just piled this self-titled demo, which also was released through Zombie Dance, and due to this practical reasons, we are at the moment having the band in the hold, because our drummer moved away from Finland. So now that upcoming EP, which is called Omnipresence of the Evil, it's going to press on this month, and it's going to be released by Zombie Dance Records later this summer or maybe the beginning of the autumn.
Perfect.
And that has the like a latest stuff we recorded already on the like a last year's like January. So
Okay.
those are kind of a bit older songs, but the the record was originally released only like at this very limited tape release, and now like a Zombie Dance wanted to do the vinyl. So that's the current situation of the Depravement. Yeah.
It's going to be a 7-inch?
7-inch, yes.
7-inch. Oh, okay. Good to know. Yeah, like I said, killer band, so I'm looking for. I'm glad to hear they're not, or that you are not done with it.
Yeah.
Your artwork is a big part, not just for Regere Sinister, but for a slew of bands or a slew of artists. You go under the name by Heidi Hellketten.
Hellketten, yeah. That's
Yeah.
the name I use with the art, yeah.
How did you start with art? Is that something that was present all the time, or was it together with the music that came up?
Well, I have been always liking to draw. Yeah, since I was like a very young, I did a lot of drawing. I have been always been fascinated about this so-called a bit darker themes, like different kind of mystical animals and folk stories and this kind of stuff. So it was kind of logical to also combine this my art thing with the music when I started to play in a band and started to like knew more people who were willing to like ask me to do artworks and stuff. So that was the like a beginning. But yeah, I mostly do this drawn artwork, but in addition, I have been doing some paintings with the like acrylic and oil painting style and some graphic on the metal like plates. But mostly I do just like ink and pencil and white paper style.
Okay.
Very simple, very simple. That's my like a way to do things. Yeah.
But that's the way it works. I mean, I've written down the fat demon on the back of the record is one of my favorites.
Oh,
just
yeah.
images and
Yeah.
I showed it a bunch because it was the record was actually my my top record of last year. So.
Oh, okay. That's nice to hear. That one, that guy. Yeah.
That guy, the fat guy. Really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, it was number one, just behind the. I've written it down because I always forget it. But the where is it? Where is it? The Spectral Moons, Tenebrae Semitameam, which was a comparable record in a sense. It was a bit grander in scope, but I like the roughness of your record. Speaking of the album, I saw the podcast you did with Yotsuke from Nuclear War Now. And you talk about a lot of stuff, but you don't talk about the record per se. So I thought we would.
I need to say I was kind of expecting that podcast to be more involved with the record itself, but it was everything else than record, and I was like, kind of prepared to like talk about records, so I was a bit of like, okay, what the fuck? But yeah, at least it was good talk, but
it was a
not
good talk.
much about record.
It was kind of daunting because when I started prepping this, I was like, oh shit, the Nuclear War Now, that's right, it's 2 hours to talk about the record. And then I kept watching.
No.
Like, okay, 1 hour, still nothing about the record, 2 hours, and nothing. Good talk, but nothing about it. So let's talk about the music. The first thing you did was the Ad Tenebras demo from 20, so around the time the Depravement came out, this came out. What can you tell me about the time? How did the band start, or how did the project evolve around that time?
Well, it was the kind of time when we were both playing in a Ride for Events with the Harry, like we still do. And I had a long while having this idea to kind of, I wanted to make some band or project. In that point, it was only like a project. And I wanted to kind of bring that idea, which involved influences from old Brazilian black metal and also like some old Greek band sound. Those are the things which has been a lot influencing in my own vision about the music I would like to do. Mm-hmm. And then we just kind of pretty fast, we just recorded the demo
and I sent those tapes, like a home dubbed tapes. I sent for contacts around the Europe and my like friends I know through the bands, and then it just started to spread, and here we are. Here we are. But originally, Regere Sinister wasn't never supposed to be anything more than my kind of this bedroom project, you know, which like I got Harry and or like a guitarist in a Right for Revenge, G Pervert, or he played guitars on those like a first demo. So we made it together.
Solo stuff was his.
Yes.
Around the, it's not weird that you get to the sound because of all the influence, like you said, Greek, the Brazilian, and definitely some Finnish influence in there. But around that time, I don't think there were a lot of bands playing that style or playing that sound. It was, like I said to Harry in the previous part, that there was the entire raw black metal was going on, and then the more not that this is not raw, but we used the word crude to describe the more accurate way to describe the music. It's an obvious influence come from Greek, but I guess you were into that kind of music all of the time because it wasn't prevalent at the time, that sound. You had to dig still good for that sound, although it was 2020. How did you end up there?
With a Greek black metal? Well,
with Greek and Brazilian, because it's not obvious to end up there.
Maybe it's not, but for me it has been obvious for a very long time. You know, I always have been very interested to dig deep on this like a old like a bands, and I used to do this, that I kind of took one country and then I checked like some old demo bands from the country and started to like you know, for my own vision, like idea about what it is, and try to find even more of those bands which I like. And in Greek situation, the first bands I, of course, like were listening were like Rotting Christ, Old Rotting Christ, Old Varatron, Old Necromantia. Necromantia is, for me, it's maybe the most, you know, the Greek bands, and then all those others. And I have been always loving the so-called Greek sound. It's so like it's so different than, for example, if comparing to some Nordic, like a Swedish or Norwegian or even Finnish like sound. It's a way more warmer, and they use very, very beautiful way the melodies and also keyboards without making them sounding gay. Yeah, that's why I like it so much. Yes.
It's romantic, not gay.
Yeah, very romantic. But that's how I see it. Yeah.
I think the use of keyboards there, and there are also some Brazilian bands that know how to use a keyboard, or that are just keyboard-based bands that are really underrated. But the entire sound is underrated, in my opinion, especially in Brazil.
Yeah. For me, like when I was younger, I had this period of my life when I just kind of refused to listen anything with keyboards because I thought that it's just not nice. but then I luckily later I like met the bands which were using keyboard more like as a like this way to create atmosphere, and not like making this pimply pomply kind of this Children of Bodom is this you know, keyboard.
It depends on your
war.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, it always depends the artist and the band and the music itself, where it fits and where it doesn't fit. But I more like when it's used as one piece of the atmosphere instead of making it as the main point in the music. Yeah.
It can work as a main point, but then it has to be very, very well executed.
Exactly.
For example, the new FY and the new Forbidden Temple, they use keys as a main component, not as just as atmosphere, and it can work, but it's a very tricky or a slippy slope to walk. Who does the keys in Regere Sinister?
I do the keys. I'm not. Okay. I need to say I'm not a keyboardist. I'm not a keyboardist. I can do it if it's forced, but that's it. I don't play keyboard. I don't play keyboard. I just do it when it's like necessary. But I don't do it for fun or because I would feel it's my instrument or anything. Yeah.
It seems it's a bit of a team with all your bands, if I can.
Yeah.
So after the 2020 demo, you had 3 splits: one with Cemetery Lights, one with Moonfall, and one with
Yeah.
Reptile Womb.
Yeah.
What can you tell about the splits? Because splits is usually a more difficult way to get into a band. So there are 3 splits before the main records. What can you tell us about
Yeah.
the split material?
Yes. We like started to make those splits. The first one that came out was the one with the Cemetery Lights, and the idea came from Dan, Mr. Corpse from Cemetery Lights, because we shared pretty similar vision about the like a music, and my like way to do split has been always going pretty much like I like to do splits with the people I know well and whose music I feel like I can identify with. Like if I would get suggestion to do a split with some artist whose music doesn't speak to me, I just say directly no. It doesn't give me anything. But if I get some like a interesting idea or interesting suggestion, then it's of course different thing, and it's never like a completely out like a written option to like try to do split with even band which doesn't like match my own style of the metal. For example, Reptile Womb, they do kind of black noise more. I would describe more of this like a harsh black noise, black metal mixture, and it's not similar than Regere Sinister in like this main, themes, but it still works because we have some way like a similar atmospheric elements and stuff. And the Cemetery Light split was the first one, and I'm very happy how it came out. And also then came this Moonfall split with guys from Witchcraft and Necromonarchia Daemonum and this, and it's like I've been always wanting to do also splits with like a friends, so they suggested to do a split with them, and I was instantly like, yes, that's a good idea, and I think we get to fit, like those both sides fit together very well on that split too, and both are sharing the kind of similar view of the black death metal. And then this Reptile Womb split, that's the latest split we did. It's a bit different, and the Regere Sinister material in that split is also a bit different than in those 2 previous ones, because that material was actually recorded earlier than it was released on a split. Those were the kind of tracks which we never get released in any other like a split releases or demo or anything, and they were kind of left hanging, but they actually fitted very well on that Reptile Womb release.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were. I remember. Heidi can correct me if I remember wrong, but they were kind of stuff that we felt after the demo that weren't actually the sound that we wanted to do next. We wanted to more like this, more atmospheric, and it was pretty more crude and kind of primitive in a way. But when Reptile Womb asked about the split, it kind of we kind of noticed that this is the stuff that is supposed to be there because the content it works better. So it kind of it was like a little bit detour on the sound, but it kind of found its place. We didn't want to make it like a second demo. I think we were actually recording like a second demo, but we okay because it's not the way we're going now. But then it found its way for the split.
That's true. Good how we mentioned it, because absolutely that was the plan originally, to make it as a second demo. But when the Reptile Womb asked us for a split, then I thought it's perfect kind of if we'd make it in a split form instead of just like a random demo. And yeah, it's a bit different, but I still stand completely behind it.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we also like finished it like completely before this. Like it was a pretty long period that we didn't
Yes.
touch the stuff. We did the bass tracks. We
Yes.
did like most of the stuff, but we kind of finishing touches were done when we knew that there was going to be reptile.
Exactly.
So it's
Exactly.
yeah,
That's how it took the final shape,
yeah,
because we mostly we had those kind of main structures in the tracks. They were already existing and they were already recorded, but we wanted to kind of modify them a bit more according to that reptile womb split purpose. Yeah.
Just to put in some flourishes and details to link it up with the other one. It's the most crazy one out of the three for sure. So it's a nice build up to get into the full. So yeah, let's talk about the monster. Inside the Eyes of the Horned Winds, like I said, was one of my records of last year, just because, like you said, the atmosphere created on it, the bass sounds. I mean, when I put it here, when I put it on my stereo, it just rattles the room. That's how thick and how dense it is. It has the influence Finnish metal, Greek metal, Brazilian metal, like we said in the, the demos and the splits, the walk into the full length. But did it change anything from the demo periods to the full length? I don't think there is too much, difference between in sound or something, but it's just the scope of the record is so much bigger than just the demo tracks, which is
it's actually I can say there is a lot of change for me personally, or probably Harry can also agree that we haven't changed it a lot about what comes to our way to work things, or what comes to how we play the tracks or instrument, or how we record them even, because the tracks which are on a full length, they have been actually created during a pretty long period of time. But of course, the way how they finally were recorded for the album, that sounds more tighter, because we made those last kind of what is the word? This last touch for the tracks, together on at that time when we were already decided that this is going to be album. Yeah. And there is some tracks which has been actually existing for already when we were having this reptile womb demo coming up and stuff. So it has been recorded originally for a longer period of time, but I'm happy how it turned out. Yeah. And our philosophy what comes to playing or recording has been always a less is more. I can say I haven't never even tried to my goal haven't never been to get something that is very clean or professionally sounding thing. I'm more a lean on this basic elements, and if they work, then it's good for me. And I'm never not any kind of a cheerhead or anything. So what comes to playing instruments, it's fine for me as long as it works and it gets thing done. Yeah.
I think work wise, the biggest difference with the full length was, like Heidi said, it was several years actually. The whole process took several years from the first recordings to the actual finalizing the mix. So with the splits and the demo, we usually worked with all the stuff at once. Because it was only a couple of or three songs plus some intros and stuff. So it was always doing everything at once.
Yeah.
But with the
Conjurer,
full length, it was more we were actually working with one single song at a time and recording it one single song at a time, and just doing the finalizing touches as to make it as an album, but that makes it more, I think, more diverse than any other stuff we've done, because of that we concentrated on each song and its special atmosphere, like at a time, and then it could take a month till got the next song. So it makes it more like it's a wider thing. It's a lot, like everything is there, and it's not just like with the splits. Like for example, Cemetery Light split, you can hear the atmosphere on every song. It's the kind of the same story, but now it's like many different stories, like an album should be, sort of thing.
Yeah. Actually, I can mention here that about the Cemetery Light split. It's actually a bit like a concept, concept album or concept split on the story-wise, because all the texts in that record are based on this old Finnish writer's book, not so tightly based, but they are getting inspiration from that book. So that way, it's very both sides are pretty similar on the theme-wise. Even the music is, of course, made with both bands has been making them by themselves, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the main difference is that on the split you have to kind of cater to the other band to make it some kind of a whole, like you said, with the womb, the reptile womb one, where the full length can go, its own way, cater just to itself. One of the biggest components on the entire records are your vocals. They have this distinctively female, but also very demonic feel or sound to them. They are bestial and evil, but with the understanding that they are pronounced to, you can understand what you're saying. It's not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Especially when you have in-ear headphones, it's kind of weird to pick up. Oh, she's gone.
Something happened.
Yes.
Let's.
I'm going to.
All right.
Typhon's writhing snakeheads. Typhon, depicted in the image, is a monstrous giant in Greek mythology with dozens of snake-like heads. According to legend, each head could produce a terrifying sound, roaring, hissing, or even mimicking human voices to create confusion and fear.
Okay, we're back. We were talking about your vocals and demonic possession when the thing fell off. Not weird, but yeah. It's a big part. I don't know where I was going with this. I just wanted to give a compliment.
Thank you.
Not a problem. With there are guest vocals on T Pound, one of maybe my favorite track on the entire. I think maybe most full fleshed out song on the record. Who does the guest vocals for that?
Originally, I asked Sakis Tolis to do the guest vocals, but he was busy with his other shit, so that kind of left. But I asked this Mr. Necrolord from Greek. He is known from the bands like a Goat Vomit, Vampyrenacht, and etc. And he was happy to do the guest vocals for me, and it was big thing for me because I really appreciate him as a musician, and he has been playing in so many like this. Also, Warphalak is one of his old bands, which I have been always liking to listen. So it was a big thing for me to get him to do this guest vocal, like a mantra, which he wrote himself. He wrote it in a Greek, and he speaks it in a Greek language on the track, which is the track is about the Typhon, which is this old Greek mythological kind of demon.
Okay.
So that was a very a pleasurable surprise that he was willing to do that for us, and I'm very happy about the result. It turned out great.
Does the demonic text have to do something with the artwork? Because there's a sort of a Baphomet on the cover, and then, of course, our favorite fat guy on the back. What is... you're writing the lyrics, I assume?
Yes.
What are the themes looking in that world, the kind of more demonic, the kind of more unsettling?
Well, those lyrics come from some dark side on my mind, we all have demons, and some people try to get rid of them, and some people learn to live with them. So that's kind of my personal world, and up and down sides of it, what also reflects on the lyrics a lot. So the themes are a bit changing, but of course there is a lot of that how it's said, metaphoric like a thing too. But yeah, I don't want to open the lyrics too much. Everybody can interpret them as their own ways. Yeah.
But the artwork kind of reflects what's going on there, because the inside, it's
a bit.
a bit.
Yeah.
It's actually a very beautiful gatefold. It's just, I think, basically two skulls on the ground.
On the snow.
On the snow.
They're on the snow. Yes.
Yeah. I can't say enough good things about the records. Yeah. What is there to say? Yeah. I have actually one last question about Regere Sinister before we delve into the last part, and that is, are you ever going to play live?
We have been asked many times to play live, but this thing is a bit like, never say die. I always say, never say die. You can never know what comes next, but I can say it's very much possible. But of course, it needs a bit of arrangements and planning, because we have live musicians, of course, if we play live, and we need to fit everything, rehearsing and stuff with them.
Yeah.
But we don't have any shows or anything planned yet. But let's see. Let's see. Maybe in the future.
Yeah, we can assure that it won't be the dive bar on the next corner, like just a random gig where we do it. It will be fully prepared stuff if we do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be like a well-chosen company on which we are going to play, because I don't want to play with some random, band. I want to know the people who I'm working with also in the live situation. Yeah.
Okay. So Live After Death Fest maybe in London next year.
Well,
well,
let's see. I don't say anything because nothing is confirmed, but I will say it's not like a poissuljettu. How you pronounce that?
It means is that totally out of question?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
one can only hope, I guess. Yeah. In the Nuclear War Now interview, I keep referencing it, but it was 2 hours. So there was a question: why does Finland have so many black metal bands? Which I think was answered and was answered good. My question is, why is Finnish not just black metal but just the entire music scene so? And I've written down a few words: bestial, experimental, dark, unhinged, ritualistic, or just insane. It cannot just be the fact that it is dark a lot of times, because there are other places that are dark, but you have the entire gauntlet of Finnish bands. It seems like everybody has a screw loose, including you guys.
Well, what personally I would maybe say it's it probably has a lot to do with the culture here. People are pretty introverted and like to spend time away from others and just burying themselves and with their own thoughts and ideas, which is also, I think it's a great thing, because many musicians, which I also personally know, they get their own ideas when they spend time alone and surround themselves with the things that give them influences and visions and stuff. And of course, a darkness and this, as usual, this pretty harsh nature and stuff probably also affects. But it's also, I feel, always Finnish bands have been having this good way to be themselves. They don't if we think old Finnish bands like Impolite Nazarene or Beherit or this kind of stuff, which kind of created the base for the Finnish black metal scene. Also self, yeah, those have never even tried to be copying something that comes from abroad or try to be something they are not. Like I see a lot of bands nowadays which try to, copy some exact style or some exact like band sound or something, and that's just boring. It doesn't like bring anything of your own for the music, or that's very unfortunate, because of course I understand it was a different world 20 decades ago.
Yeah.
Then there wasn't so many bands existing, for example, but still in the more, well, Finland is also located a bit side for other world. We are in a far up north, and many other bands which were like a more, they get bigger and they toured around the world and Europe. They were located more in the central part of the continent.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that also kept Finland a bit like eristyksissä. Isolated, yes. And kind of forced people to kind of develop their own sound and own vision and own way to kind of create the thing called black metal by their own own ways. Yes.
It is so peculiar to see how many crazy acts come out of Finland. Can you give us some deep cut Finnish black metal? I mean, like, everybody knows Beherit, everybody knows Art Code and all those things, but is there anything that you can think of that is not run of the mill, or some of your favorites, maybe?
Of course, I can mention some, like what comes to my own influences. Well, of course, there's a Beherit. That's that's the big thing. But then bands like Baratrum, Unholy, Holy Hell. Then there is a lot of like a smaller bands, Vornat, for example, which I like personally a lot too. And also this a bit newer bands, which I like Hail, Dead Citadel.
Okay.
This kind of stuff. Necromonarchia Daemonum, Ceremonial Torture, Witchcraft. Yeah. There is a plenty of stuff, but they all have a bit of their own sound.
Yeah, it's cool to see that the underground there is still alive. That there are pockets playing really like the Witchcraft guys from Hamia and stuff like that. It's cool to see that the scene, not the scene, but that there are still pockets of weirdos playing some cool music.
Yeah.
If it's okay, can you just send me a list so I can check some stuff out from that?
Of course, I can.
Perfect. Then last words is what's on the horizon for you both in Regere Sinister and as well as your solo stuff. Any plans or things you want to shine a light on?
Well, currently we are working with the Right for Events, but it's anything isn't like we don't have a deadline or anything yet for those things. And with the Regere Sinister, we are probably returning to kind of record and create a new stuff on this autumn. And let's see what's coming then. We have been suggested a couple of split releases, so let's see where we end up next. Yeah. Okay. But those are like current plans to focus on. Yeah.
That's good news for Regere Sinister. Harry, you have anything?
It's I do have lots of threads to start with the next Hail Conjurer, but it's gonna take some more time. At the moment, we've been working with the next Hooded Menace record.
Oh, okay.
It's already been recorded, so the release is being
imminent,
prepared as we speak. So in the near future, you may hear something
Perfect.
from that. And with Hollowwoods, we have some stuff recorded already with previous album sessions, but some new stuff will be recorded too before it's gonna be released. And let me think.
One more.
Yeah. There's probably something I can't remember right now, but yeah, many things going on right now. So yeah,
many irons on the fire for the Finnish folk. That's good news, man.
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know. That's how I live. So it's hard to not to do those things.
Of course.
Probably I can stop them when I'm dead.
The kettle is boiling over already.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I want to take this opportunity to thank you both. Yeah, like I said, I kind of like everything you guys are doing, but if you know the channel, that is not a big surprise. So thanks for everything, and thanks for joining tonight for this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Have a great night, and yeah, maybe we can reconvene in a future time when stuff is appearing.
Sure.
Perfect. Have a great night.
Perfect. Same for you. Thank you.
Will do. My pleasure. Once again. Bye.
Bye.
εαυτό σου. Αφάνισε το κοσμικό ψεύδος με την ολέθρια δύναμή σου.